Hello, everybody. I would like to talk to you tonight about Germany's next illegality under its international commitments. What I'm talking about is this thing here that, as the German defense minister recently said, the Germans are thinking about the possibility of bringing back conscription in 2026. The Germans back in 2011, they stopped the mandatory military service for their male population, and ever since it has been voluntary to serve in the Bundeswehr, in the German army. But this, in and of itself, is not the hugest problem. This, of course, part of the entire rearmament and the European fanatism at the moment about needing more weapons and more military might, more firepower, and more capabilities because they are very scared since the United States is basically turning its back on the Ukrainian project and they are very unhappy about it. And now this talk about vulnerabilities is being used by the war hawks and by the war machine in order to change policies that once were basically set in stone. The thing I'm talking about here is not so much the issue of conscription, but what these people already unwittingly are planning, and which is a clear violation of Germany's international agreements, especially agreements that it had with the Soviet Union and its successor state, Russia. The thing that concerns me most over here is this part here that Mr. Pistorius, the defense minister, is saying that Germany must be capable of mobilizing a total force of 460,000 soldiers and reservists. Now, first of all, you will notice that this force is still significantly smaller than what we know that Russia is having on their arms or was able to mobilize over the last couple of years. But still, we are talking here about only one of the NATO countries, and we're seeing how the Germans are thinking of themselves as part of an integrated NATO or at least European strike force. The problem, though, is that this number here just stands in the room as if though this is going to be the new and unproblematic goal. And just to let you know, I tried to look across the media outlets, and I also found a German media outlet, T-Online, that talks of the same number. So this number is not just an invention of Russia today. This is probably what the Germans are planning somewhere in the back rooms. Now, why is 460,000 a problem? It's a problem because there is a international treaty, the so-called Treaty on the Final Settlement with respect to Germany. It's also called the 4+2 Treaty because it was negotiated between the four victors of the Second World War. That is the United States, the Soviet Union, Britain and France, and the two Germanys at the time. You remember, right? Back in 1989, 1990, there were two Germanys. There was the Federal Republic, and then there was the German Democratic Republic, the GDR. And what happened, of course, is that the GDR was swallowed whole by the Federal Republic. The GDR ceased to exist. But on the way to this event, which really should be called an absorption, but we today remember it as a reunification. I reject that term because it wasn't a reunification. It was an absorption. It was the end of the GDR and not the GDR also legally under international law ceased to be a subject of international law because it dissolved. The continuation is of course the Federal Republic, but that's another issue. The point is that there were these negotiations that took place, and this document is the legal treaty, the legal framework that once and for all ended that brought a final peace, a final end to the Second World War. The Second World War, the fighting itself stopped in 45. Then there were agreements on all sides. Then there were two Germanys, and then there was a de facto European Cold War scenario. There was the Iron Curtain, and there was a hard contact line between East and West Germany. There was, of course, always the contentious issue of Berlin being part of Berlin, West Berlin being a part of the Federal Republic, while entirely enclosed within the German Democratic Republic. I mean, all of this problematic history was there because there was never a agreed on settlement, overall settlement of the European situation. That settlement had to wait until 1990. And this is it, the treaty on the final settlement with respect to Germany. You can download it, it exists in English. And if you read through it, this is the document that spelled out under what kind of conditions the two Germanys would be allowed to unify, or under which conditions the Federal Republic would be allowed to swallow up the German Democratic Republic. I must say this is something that the German Democratic Republic also wanted. This is a six-way talk that then finally ended with signatures from all sides. But very importantly, it was the victorious powers of the Second World War that signed off on this. And if you go down to page number 3, Article 3, let's read the second paragraph first because it's quite important. This second paragraph spells out what Germany is allowed to have in terms of defense forces. The government of the Federal Republic of Germany, the second paragraph says, made the following statement. The government of the Federal Republic of Germany undertakes to reduce the personnel strength of the armed forces of the United Germany to 370,000. Within the scope of this overall ceiling, no more than 345,000 will belong to the ground and air forces. And then it says that the German Democratic Republic has expressly associated itself with this statement, meaning the two Germanys agreed that this is the maximum strength that a unified Germany should have, and the other four governments they took note of these statements. So this is as close as it gets to a treaty agreement on force size in Germany. And the fact that Pistorius, under this newest of pronouncements, just, doesn't even touch on this obligation, this treaty obligation that the Germans are having, just increases it well above that size, right? 460,000. That's like 90,000 soldiers, 90,000 people, personnel more than what they promised under the treaty. So the Germans are on the way of breaking another one of their treaty agreements that they have, especially with the Soviet Union. Although I must say this document was also very important to gain the support of Margaret Thatcher and of the British government. The Brits back in the 1990s didn't trust the Germans, the West Germans, not at all. Back then there was still suspicion, and this was, this treaty and this agreement of like what a future German state, unified German state, would look like, was very important to all victorious powers. Now, of course, 35 years later, we live in a different world, and the prime enemy of the Europeans, it seems at the moment, is again the Russians. But this is a promise also made towards the Russians, so toward the Soviet Union, and Russia is the legal successor state of the Soviet Union. So this would be another promise broken. Sadly enough, I have no hope that this piece of paper will carry any force at all whatsoever. First and foremost, because it has been broken before. If we go to the first paragraph of Article 3, for instance, this paragraph also promises something very clearly, as clear as it gets. The governments of the Federal Republic of Germany and the German Democratic Republic reaffirm their renunciation of the manufacture and possession of and control over nuclear, biological, and chemical weapons. They declare that the United Germany, too, will abide by these commitments. A unified Germany, this article says, promises that it will never, ever manufacture or possess nuclear weapons. Now, the sad fact of the matter is that Germany already is currently the stationing ground of at least 20 US nuclear weapons. It might be even more because what the West Europeans did, especially in the 1990s, is this goddamn joke that they call it nuclear sharing. NATO is doing nuclear sharing, and because the nukes are shared with Germany and they are under U.S. possession and under U.S. Administration, Germany doesn't possess them. There's Germany doesn't have possession over them. Hence, the argument goes, this promise was never broken. But that's of course a goddamn joke. The whole point of this article here was to make sure that there would be no nukes in a reunified Germany, and that the nukes could not be a threat to the Soviet Union and now Russia. And this promise was basically broken as quickly as it was made. And you use a legalism, right? You use a legalism of nuclear sharing. We just shared the nukes. The Germans don't possess them, and the West is a master in this. So I have no doubt that also on the second part, on this promise of 370,000, that the German international lawyers very quickly and very easily will come up with a reason saying that, oh, that was not a real promise. It was just a target number, but we never said that we would keep that. We said we would reduce it, but we didn't say we would keep it. The Russians broke their agreements. The Russians broke the Budapest Agreement. Therefore, we are justified in adjusting our treaty commitments, like stuff like that. It's really, really easy for any party that wants to wiggle out of a written agreement, of a written treaty, to do so by some phantom legalistic arguments. And but the fact remains, and this to me is yet another intention of breaking another one of Germany's treaty obligations towards the victors of the Second World War, and of course this time most egregiously towards Russia, which at this point would care most about this promise. These 370,000, this cap was of course installed because that's considered what Germany would need to defend itself on its own soil, and also with the memory that back in the 1930s, Germany started breaking its treaty obligations under the Versailles Treaty and rearming heavily and creating a much larger the Wehrmacht, the army at the time, that then raided, plundered, pillaged large parts of Europe, right? So the people who were, especially in the UK, who were in power at the time, the Thatcher government, she remembered that. She remembered the air raids, the German air raids of London, right? And she distrusted the Germans ever since, and she wanted to make sure, and others wanted to make sure, that the Germans would not again possess the means to raid and pillage and plunder and rape the European continent. But now Pistorius and the rest of the German defense establishment, and just like in the United States, they should be by now called an offense establishment, they are working actively on breaking also that promise. And it's unfortunately just another one of the dominoes that is falling in the not only the rearmament of the European continent, but the remilitarization and the drum beats of war, the drum beats of even more war. I mean, it's not enough. To some people, it's not enough that we have a a horrible war in Ukraine where the West and NATO is willing to fight to the last Ukrainian. Some people want to prepare the next step, 5, 6, 10 years down the road, when they want to fight to the last German, they want to fight to the last Swede, they want to fight to the last Dane, the last French, maybe, in order to fulfill their fantasies of a broken Russia, which is a European dream, a wet European dream for at least the last 250 or so years, right? I mean, Napoleon tried and failed. The World War One, Germany, the Reich tried and failed. Hitler tried and failed. So this is just another time, to me, where preparations are underway. If they go wrong, we will end Europe again in a general war. And if the Russians then say that this is not okay, which it is not, then they will be accused of double standards and, of course, of having a much larger fighting force themselves, which is true. They have a much larger fighting force, but they are allowed to have it under international law. Germany signed a piece of paper that said, fine, if I can be a unified state again, then I promise you I will not have more than 370. You're unified, and then you get nukes and you increase your troop size above 370, or at least the aim of such. Which is, of course, international relations. These are pieces of paper, but these pieces of paper carry meaning because they are the intentions of the people, of the politicians who sign them. And if these intentions are broken, or if these promises are broken, then it creates distrust, which then again on the other side creates the incentive to further militarize and to secure themselves in other ways. And the military spiral, escalation spiral, turns and turns and turns. And the Germans are masters in blaming other people for their mistakes. If you are not sure about this one, just look at who they're blaming right now for the current genocide that is going on in Israel. Right. Anyone is to blame, especially the Arabs, just not they themselves for their genocide on the Jews. So, with this kind of sad note, I wanted to point this out to you because it's another one of this little things, these little pieces in history that then add up to major future disasters. Germany, stop it. 370 is what you promised. Never, ever have more than 370,000. So stick to it. You promised it. You need to live up to your promises. Don't make excuses. And thank you very much, everybody.